In this new video, we will create our own database in Firebase to use in the application that we will publish. First, we enter in the Build App section of our CDE. We note that the fields app name and package name are complete. These fields are not necessary to modify. And then, we see the section Behavior that tells us the behavior of the app when an exception occurs that is not handled by the developer. We can choose between three options: relaunch, abort, and interrupt processing. The relaunch option will relaunch the application when there is an exception not handled by the user. The abort option will close the application when an exception occurs, and finally, the interrupt processing option will end the execution where it has occurred the exception and will continue running the application. In all cases, the alert is sent with the exception message. In this case, we will choose the relaunch option. You can choose the most appropriate option according to your requirements. After this, we have the configurations of cloud storage, in which we have to configure the database Firebase for the use of all calls to cloud persistence that we made in the application. For this, we go to the address https://console.firebase.google.com/. Once on this page, click on Add Project, and we will open a window to complete the data of our project in Firebase. First, enter the name of our app, Treasure Hunt, accept the terms and conditions, and finally, we can already click on Create Project to have our project in Firebase created. We wait a few moments while the creation is finished, and when finished, we press Continue. We have entered the summary of our project. Once here, we go to the section Database and create a real-time database by clicking on Create Database. A window will open, in which we have to choose the security rules of our database. Select the Test Mode and press Enable. Once created, we enter the Rules section and change the value of the read and write parameters to the value auth != null in the following way. In this way, our base will only be accessible by the users who hold the credentials. Now we need to obtain the necessary credentials for our application Matter. So we will go to the summary of the project by clicking on Project Overview. Once in this section, click on Add Firebase to your iOS app, and it will open the creation settings. In these, we have to enter our package name that we find in the Build App section of the CDE. We copy it and enter it in the iOS Bundle ID field. Click on Register App, and then click on Download Google Service-info.plist to download the file with all the necessary configurations for our application. Press on Next. Again, Next, and finally, click on Skip this step. Now we need to create the credentials for the Android configurations. For this, we click on Add another app and select Add Firebase to your Android app. Again, enter the package name of our app. Click on Register App. Then download the configuration file by clicking on Download Google-services.json. Click on Next, again on Next, and finally on Skip this step. We have already created our database in Firebase correctly, and we obtained the necessary configurations for the creation of our application. Therefore, we will open the downloaded files, and with the data obtained, we will complete all the fields. First, we open the Google Services-info.plist file. From this file, we look for the parameters API_key, Google_app_ID, and GCM_sender_ID. We copy them and add them in the Build App settings in their corresponding place. The API_key is added in Firebase API key, open parenthesis, iOS, close parenthesis. Google_app_ID in Firebase app ID, open parenthesis, iOS, close parenthesis, and GCM_sender_ID in Firebase GCM sender ID, open parenthesis, iOS, close parenthesis. Now we open the file google-services.json. From this file, we need the parameters Firebase_URL, mobile SDK_app_ID, and current_key. The first parameter, Firebase_URL, we enter in the field Firebase database URL, open parenthesis, all platforms, close parenthesis. The parameter mobile SDK underscore app underscore ID in Firebase app ID, open parenthesis, Android, close parenthesis. And the parameter current underscore key in Firebase API key, open parenthesis, Android, close parenthesis, close parenthesis. Finally, we press Save Changes, and all our values will be saved. In the next video, we will continue to configure our application to be able to publish it in digital stores.